What if I told you that in one country, your employer can be legally fined if you're overweight? That in another, you can be arrested for stepping on a coin? And that somewhere in Europe, there is a village where it is literally illegal to die? These are not myths. These are real enforced laws from real governments. Today, we are counting down 10 laws from around the world that sound completely made up, but are absolutely, verifiably true. Number 10, Singapore. You cannot chew gum. Singapore is one of the cleanest cities on Earth. It is also famous for some of the strictest laws in the world. In 1992, the government decided that gum was a national menace. The problem? People were sticking chewed gum onto the doors of the MRT, Singapore's subway system. The sensors would jam. The doors would fail. Trains would be delayed. Singapore's solution was characteristically blunt: ban the product entirely. Since 1992, it has been illegal to import or sell chewing gum in Singapore. You may carry a small amount for personal use, but sell it and you face a fine of up to 100,000 Singapore dollars and up to 2 years in prison. There are exceptions. Dental gum and nicotine gum are permitted, but only with a doctor's prescription. In Singapore, gum is not a snack. It is medicine. Number 9, Denmark. Check under your car. This one sounds fake. It is not. In Denmark, drivers are legally required to check underneath their vehicle before starting the engine. The specific concern? Children who may have crawled or fallen asleep under the car. Danish law also requires headlights to be on at all times, day, night, all year. And if your car runs out of gas on a highway, that is technically illegal. You are expected to plan better. Denmark also has a law prohibiting the naming of a child anything that is not on the government's official approved list of 7,000 names. If you want a name outside the list, you must apply to the church and the government for special permission. This has been denied for names including Monkey and Pluto. Number 8, Thailand. Stepping on money is a crime. In Thailand, every coin and every banknote carries the image of the king. And under Thai lèse-majesté law, the king is sacred. Stepping on a coin is not just rude. It is a criminal offense. Insulting the monarchy, in person, in print, or online, can result in 3 to 15 years in prison per count. These laws are among the strictest in the world and are actively enforced. In 2021, a Thai woman was sentenced to 43 years in prison for social media posts deemed insulting to the royal family. The original sentence was 86 years, cut in half because she pleaded guilty. Stepping on a coin constitutes the same category of offense. Most tourists are quietly warned when they arrive. Very few are prosecuted. But the law exists and it is not symbolic. Number 7. North Korea, 28 approved hairstyles only. For much of the 2000s and 2010s, the North Korean government published an official list of state-approved hairstyles. Women had 14 options. Men had 14 options. Married women were expected to wear their hair short. Certain cuts were explicitly labeled as Western and banned. Men were not permitted to grow their hair longer than 5 centimeters, about 2 inches, with a small exception for older men who were going bald and needed the extra length for coverage. State media ran campaigns with names like, "Let us trim our hair in accordance with the socialist lifestyle." The government's stated justification? Long hair drains nutrients from the body, reducing mental performance. This was not satire. This was printed in official government publications. The North Korean government argued that hair length makes you less intelligent. They put it in writing. Number 6, Switzerland. 1 guinea pig is illegal. Switzerland takes animal welfare more seriously than almost any country on Earth. Swiss law recognizes that certain animals are social by nature and suffer in isolation. Guinea pigs are one such animal. It is illegal in Switzerland to own a single guinea pig. They must be kept in pairs at minimum. The same rule applies to parrots, canaries, goldfish, and a range of other species. If your guinea pig dies and you cannot immediately get a new one, there are companies in Switzerland that will rent you a temporary companion guinea pig to keep the surviving animal company while you search for a permanent replacement. Guinea pig rental. This is a legal, operating, profitable industry in Switzerland. The country also requires aquariums to have opaque panels on at least one side, so fish cannot see the outside world, a precaution against fish anxiety. These are not minor regulations buried in obscure law. They are enforced. Switzerland has animal welfare inspectors. Number 5, Philippines. Your license plate decides when you drive. Manila has one of the worst traffic problems on Earth. INRIX has ranked it the most congested city in the world. The average driver loses over 250 hours per year just sitting in traffic jams. The government's solution was the coding scheme, the Unified Vehicle Volume Reduction Program. Under this system, vehicles are banned from major roads during rush hours on 1 weekday per week, determined by the last digit of their license plate. Plates ending in 1 or 2 are banned on Mondays, 3 or 4 on Tuesdays, and so on. The intended result, 20% fewer cars on the road each day. The actual result, wealthy Filipinos simply bought a second car with a different ending digit and drove that on the days their primary vehicle was banned. Traffic stayed catastrophic. The scheme remains in effect. Number 4, France. Dying in one village is forbidden. In 2008, the mayor of Sarpurenx, a village of around 260 people in southwest France, issued a formal decree. The local cemetery was full. There was no approved space for expansion, so the mayor did the only logical thing he could think of. He made dying illegal. The decree read, "All persons not having a plot in the cemetery and wishing to be buried in Sarpurenx are forbidden from dying in the parish." It concluded with the line that made it internationally famous: "Offenders will be severely punished." Leaving everyone to wonder, how exactly do you punish a dead person? A skeleton in handcuffs? A ghost in a cell? When asked by reporters what the punishment would be, the mayor admitted he was not entirely sure. He maintained, however, that he had run out of other options. At least 2 other French villages have issued nearly identical decrees for the same reason: cemeteries that are full and local governments that won't approve new burial space. Number 3. Canada, 35% of radio must be Canadian. Canada shares the world's longest undefended border with the most culturally dominant nation in history. It has spent decades worrying about being quietly absorbed into American culture. One legislative response: Canadian content regulations, known as CanCon. Since 1971, Canadian radio stations have been legally required to ensure that a minimum percentage of their music, now 35% for most stations, qualifies as Canadian content. Whether something is Canadian is determined by the MAPL system: music composed by a Canadian, artist who is Canadian, performance recorded in Canada, or lyrics written by a Canadian. A song qualifies if it meets at least 2 of the 4 criteria. The effect has been significant. Artists including Celine Dion, Shania Twain, and Justin Bieber have spoken about how CanCon gave them Canadian airplay before they broke internationally. Since 2022, the regulations have been extended to streaming platforms. Netflix is legally required to fund Canadian content as a condition of operating in Canada. Number 2. Japan, your waste is government regulated. In 2008, Japan introduced the Metabo Law, named after metabolic syndrome. Every year, citizens between 40 and 74 must attend an annual health check. At that check, their waist is measured. The legal limit's 33.5 inches for men, 35.4 inches for women. Exceed this and you are placed on a government-monitored health improvement program with mandatory dietary counseling. But the law does not stop with individuals. Companies and local governments are legally required to ensure that their employees and residents meet these standards. If the percentage of overweight people within a company exceeds the legal target, the company is fined directly by the national government. The results: Japanese companies run internal weight loss competitions. Managers monitor staff measurements. Peer pressure to stay within the legal limit is institutionalized, government-mandated, and directly tied to corporate profit and loss. Japan's national obesity rate, 4.3%. United Kingdom, 28%. United States, 36%. Number 1. Saudi Arabia, women banned from driving until 2018. For 27 years, Saudi Arabia was the only country in the world where women were legally prohibited from driving. This was not an ancient law. It was a modern, actively enforced prohibition that lasted from 1990, when 47 Saudi women staged a protest drive and were immediately arrested, until June 24, 2018, when King Salman issued a royal decree lifting the ban. The prohibition was never written into formal legislation. It existed through religious edicts from the country's senior clerics, backed by government enforcement. Women caught driving had their passports confiscated. Their male guardians, husbands, fathers, brothers, were called to collect them. Lujain al-Hathlul was one of the most prominent activists who campaigned for women's right to drive. She was arrested in May 2018, just 6 weeks before the ban was lifted, and held in detention for nearly 3 years. The ban is gone. But the woman who arguably did the most to end it spent 3 years in prison for it. 10 laws, 10 countries. 10 reminders that the world operates by rules stranger than anything you were taught in school.